So I'm about to try something, and it might be a little bit crazy. So, as a writer and artist, the end of the year is always an exciting time because you have Inktober, Preptober, NaNoWriMo, a lot of these events that are fun for artists and writers to come together and do a sort of collective challenge. And this year in October, I thought about doing Inktober because I was already doing a lot of drawing and illustration projects. And when November came around, I thought about doing a modified version of NaNoWriMo where I would revise the draft I was already working on. But in both cases, I spent too much time thinking about it, couldn't quite make the decision in time, and basically missed my chance. So now it's December, and I figured, what if I mash Inktober, Preptober, and NaNoWriMo together into 1 month? Which sounds crazy, but hear me out. The last video series I did on this channel was 10 days of drawing. And what I learned from that is that when it comes to doing the same thing every day, 10 days is about as much as I can manage. Because it seems like I waft between drawing and writing on some sort of natural biological cycle or something. And so 30 days of just drawing or 30 days of just writing would probably be a tall order for me. So I kicked off InkPrepNoWriCember by making myself some coffee and reading my draft, which I'd been adding to for a while now, but it had been a while since I read the whole thing from start to finish. And it was a little intimidating because I'm often nervous to read what I've written and find out whether I still like it and how much work there is needed to revise it. And so I broke it up into sprints, tracking how many pages I read, similar to how I would if I were writing, and tracking my word count. So that's along the lines of a Preptober activity, preparing for the revision process. And, when I say I'm mashing the 3 things into 1 month, there are 2 ways to interpret that. It could mean that I'm preparing one novel, writing 50,000 words in another novel, and making 30 illustrations in 1 month. And that would be extremely crazy, and I would never even consider that. What I actually mean is that each day of December, I'm going to do at least one of 3 things. I'm going to prepare for revision, I'm going to actually revise, or I'm going to draw. And the idea of this harebrained challenge is to impose a little bit of continuity, making sure that at least one of these things happens each day. But I'm also leaving a lot of freedom to decide which one to do on a given day. And I think that that amount of looseness in the structure is something I need, especially since I'm keeping this up for 30 days and not 10, as I did last time. That's more or less what I'm representing with this character, where she has all these projects and ideas wafting around her and following her as she rolls down a hill in a bubble, I guess. And they have a sort of continuity in that you keep coming back to them and chipping away at them on some kind of schedule with some kind of frequency, but not quite as predictable or orderly as you would expect or as you might prefer. But somehow, they follow you around, you keep coming back to them, they get done on a large time scale. It looks like they're getting done at a steady rate, but in the near term, you're just kind of doing what you feel like and dipping in and out of projects, which can be difficult. I keep a lot of notes and I'm pretty meticulous about that because I know that I'm going to need to be able to pick back up at some point. And I guess that's what the bookshelf is about in this picture. It's following her down the hill as well. Even so, getting back into a project can be quite difficult. For example, with the novel, I really am having to ease into it because it's been a while and I'm trying to get familiar with it again and read all my notes. So while there's definitely something to be said for, avoiding switching just for the sake of it and minimizing the number of projects you have, I think I've found what works for me, which is there's a sweet spot of the right number of projects and kind of letting myself switch when I'm naturally going to anyway. So that's what I'm trying to represent here. It can be overwhelming to have a whole lot going on at once, but it can also be fun and magical and feel like rolling down a hill in a bubble or something. So that's what I did for the first 3 days of InkPrepNoWriCember. For the first 2 days, I read my draft, and on the third day, I also read my draft and took some notes about things that occurred to me while I was reading. And I made this drawing to represent this crazy idea I had for December. So please subscribe and follow along. If you want to see how this goes, I will be posting updates every other day, I think, and I have no idea what will happen. This is very much an experiment. And if you have a way of working that seems weird and unconventional, but it works for you, let me know about it in the comments. I'm always curious about the ways that people work. And with that, I'll see you in a couple of days. Bye-bye.